Hello, I'm Howie Sheriff, and welcome to another show from You Call This Yoga, sharing an internet TV talk show about accessible yoga. It's a beautiful May day in North Carolina, and we have the pleasure of having a friend and excellent teacher who has her own vibration and way of sharing accessible yoga, Alisha Nissenfeld. Alisha will be on shortly after I share a little bit about our show and mission. You Call This Yoga is a 501c3 nonprofit with a mission to help the physically challenged and underserved improve their life with yoga. Our show here brings leaders and visionaries in accessible yoga who have found pathways to share their passion and provide benefits of yoga, which has many limbs, not just the physical practice. They take their passions into the world, and today Alisha has developed a skill in presenting the Gong vibrations as part of Shavasana. She does her classes in a way that can help prepare you, and that'll be part of our Pearls of Wisdom. Alisha is participating in Yoga Fest Raleigh with us this year and will be at the Well-Fed Garden on June 17th. We'll have that information on our website and share more of that later. Alisha also practices around town with other musicians and yoga teachers and entities to bring the experience of yoga and other yogic lifestyles such as farm-to-table experiences. Let's bring on Alisha because I've already talked for 3 minutes straight. Good morning, Alisha.
Hi, Howie.
Alisha, tell us about some of your early experiences in yoga practice and where your roots started.
I was introduced to yoga through a college elective, and right away I connected to the breath practice, which I was kind of blown away by. I think in that time of my life, you're in college, and whatever happens in college stays in college. Just kidding.
Hopefully not. We keep living.
All right,
living like college.
I know. But yeah, so my first experience was in college, and from that point on, I really enjoyed practicing outside, and I would find spaces that were as green as possible and as quiet as possible, so that I can really hear my breath and feel myself moving within the space of nature. And I've worked at summer camps for many years and began to teach yoga, even though I wasn't certified at the time, to some of the staff and also to the campers. And it just felt like a really beautiful way to connect with other people.
Excellent. When you were in college, how prevalent was the practice of yoga?
I don't even remember the details so much. I remember meeting in a gymnasium, and it was a really dark and kind of cold room, very dimly lit. And so there was this sense of kind of tuning out what was going on around us and learning how to tune in. So at least I had that kind of realization. And the breath practice, but it wasn't so, I wasn't so actively involved or even understood any of the sutras or any of the limbs, and it was primarily a breath and physical practice. And a few years later, I was in a kind of fork in the road in my life, and I was unsure about what path I wanted to take. I was going to school for fine arts and photography, and then I found yoga teacher training at a place called Sonic Yoga in Manhattan, and I decided to just kind of go in full force and take the teacher training as a form of getting grounded and centered and helping me fine-tune what my intention would be moving forward. And that's where I was introduced to the many other facets of yoga.
So how old were you at that time?
I was about 21.
So that's still relatively new as an adult and just trying to figure out pathways. That's pretty precocious. I can appreciate my early exposure to yoga was transcendental meditation in college, and we were recruited to come to this orientation and pay our $250 to get our mantra, from which we were then oriented towards a meditation practice. So it was a very interesting thing because there wasn't any overt physical element of yoga presented at that time. It was just purely meditation. That's fascinating. Viewers and listeners, part of our show today is going to be Alisha demonstrating twice the experience of the gong. Vibrations are part of human element as well as the world. She'll be sharing in her Pearls of Wisdom ways to prepare to experience this, and then we'll actually have 2 live demonstrations, one for about a minute in the midway of the show, and then a little later we'll have a whole 2.5-minute experience. So please stay tuned. We do also ask for your participation if you like. Viewers, you can dial in at Computers 2K Voice on Skype. You can also call in at 919-518-9773 or log in to the chat box and type in. And we will be happy to engage you and have Alisha explain more about the gong or your own experiences with the gong. But let's get back to Alisha and her journey. So 21 years old and a yoga teacher, or at least on the path of a yoga teacher. Did that mean that you wanted to teach right away?
I wasn't sure. So simultaneously, I shifted the career path. I had graduated the School of Visual Arts in Manhattan and kind of worked in the arts world for a while. And it was a little more wild and crazy than I had anticipated for myself. And I was thankful I realized that sooner than later. So I continued to go to grad school for a social work degree. And right away, I was drawn to group and individual counseling and specialized in substance abuse treatment. And then yoga was that instant kind of merge of we're going to utilize yoga, we're going to use breath work, we're going to learn how to meditate, quiet the brain, become more centered so that we can use yoga as a form of treatment for relapse prevention, motivational therapy, empowerment. And it felt so natural, it felt real. It took a lot of pressure off because the people I'm working with, they really needed a lot of help. And at the time, living in the city and going to these studios, you know, there are lots of young, super athletic, high-strung kind of alpha people, and the studios were packed with super fit individuals. And that demographic, although was fun to kind of practice around and see evolve, I felt like this work was my passion and my love and a way to connect with people, to help people grow, people evolve, and people radiate their truth. And ultimately, that's my reason for wanting to teach yoga.
Well, that's a very depthful journey. And this is in your mid-20s or so? Wow. And you were in Manhattan during this experience then, I'm hearing?
Yeah, I was in Manhattan. I was living in Brooklyn. I lived there for about 15 years. And then ended up moving here about 3 years ago.
Gosh. Well, then tell us about your experience in learning gong playing.
Yeah, the gong is such a profound instrument, and I'm so thankful that I have the opportunity to play. There's a man named Don Conroe. You guys should Google him. Super interesting fellow. And they call him the Gong Master, and he travels all around the world hosting these group sessions, inside, outside. Yeah, and I went to a studio. There was about let's say 90 people all in Shavasana, and my husband came with me, and he started playing, and there was about 10 gongs and a bunch of other instruments and 4 other of his students that travel around with him. And it was an intense experience. I felt every sense was super heightened. I was processing a lot of stuff. It was extremely uncomfortable, super visual, unlike anything I'd experienced. And I was like, what is going on? I need to know more. What are these sounds doing? And how can I pay attention to that and address that? So that was my first experience with the gong.
Wow. Viewers and listeners, any of you have any gong experiences you'd like to share or are curious about? Please do check in with us by phone, Skype, or chat box. This is a unique opportunity also to consider preparing how you can create a nicely seated position or reclining position for a little later in the show. And even feel free, if you can, to record what's going on. We're going to prepare for our first pearl of wisdom because we're going to look to have an experience in the near future. So let's share some of Alisha's perspective.
Similar to the vibration received by the gong, our voice is the most accessible gong. So we can start off by choosing to make sound that resonates through the body and out into the universe. So we'll close our eyes, lengthen the spine, melt the shoulders, reach the crown of the head up, take a deep breath in. Exhale through the mouth. Inhale. Give yourself a few breaths to feel what you feel.
Coming back to Alisha's reference before of the Gong Master, Alisha, would you spell your Gong Master's name for folks that would love to learn more?
Yes, and I believe I have the correct spelling. So Don, D-O-N, and Conreau, C-O-N-R-E-A-U, maybe an X. I believe there's an X. But if you Google it, you will find it.
Wonderful. And could you tell us a little bit of your transition from, it seems you're working in some very intense environments, to your exposure to the gong? Was there a connection in that pathway?
As far as working in the substance abuse facilities? No. So I have 3 children, and my youngest, Jack, is 3. And during my last pregnancy, I had some minor complications, and it was suggested that I didn't do much physical activity. And around that time, after having that first experience with Dawn, I then found Kundalini yoga studios, and they're all over the city. And then one, my favorite, Golden Bridge Studio, they utilize the gong in every class. So I started kind of hanging around the gongsters and learning and experiencing and kind of allowing my experience to evolve with the gong. So during my last pregnancy, that kind of was like a ding ding, it's time, right? It was just this open door to say, how do I transition my experience in yoga, and dive deep into the sound therapy. So it was really about that point.
Did you have musical training earlier on in your life?
No, I didn't have any musical training. I love music. I love vibration. I love rhythm. I love pulsation, whether it's in nature, the heartbeat, the breath, the shaking of trees and leaves. I always think of that as this kind of dancing, energetic spanda, vibration, pulsation. So with the gong, people often say, "How did you learn how to play?" And I had met with one of Don's students because he's never around, or he is around, but he's always pretty busy. So he connected me with one of his students who lived near, and I connected with her instantly and went over to her house and played her gong. And I thought that, that was my one and only gong lesson. And it was just to kind of sit with it and be with it and see if I could make it my own and what it felt like before I went out and made the purchase. And I think with the gong, it's very much a meditation, and it's a call and response between the person who's playing and the sounds that are being released. And that's it. You learn a little bit about where sounds are on the gong, and then after you continue playing for a while, it just happens. It's this beautiful breath and movement practice.
So what I'm sensing then is that every time you play the gong may be a unique experience.
Oh, definitely. It's complete chaos. It's original, it's real, it's a beautiful vibration. It changes sound and feeling based on what's going on within you, based on the acoustics of the room, the heat of the room, the energy in the room, whether there's windows or not. So all of these contributing factors of absorption or transcendence really come into play when we're creating sound and vibration, either by myself or with a group.
Fascinating. And we just had that pearl of wisdom involving the sound of Om. And we select a pearl, but it doesn't necessarily have to be the only pearl relative to preparation. We might vary some of our preparations or have access even to how we can prepare. So besides Om, or are there ways to expand on Om as
Sure.
a vibrational preparation? And can you share that over the air now?
Yes, I'd love to. So this is how I see it. I see that everything has energy, and it produces a certain frequency. And often, and the most accessible gong is our voice. And in our body, we have multiple organs and muscles and bones, and they're all producing a frequency that's different. And the frequency of all of that inside of us depends on the density and then also the health, right, of that organ or that system. So when you hear, the common Bob Marley positive vibration, this is a true thing. It's a real thing. It's an undisturbed, when we give something our undivided attention and our complete focus, and we're tuned in, and there's nothing that's kind of getting in the way or obstructing it, we create this beautiful vibration, and the sound is the one that's kind of most tactile because we can feel it. You can easily put your hands and hear even when you're just talking. So using Om as a vibration, literally setting an intention, finding your breath, getting centered, tuning in, and then releasing full of intention that sound, you feel it resonate and rise up through the body. And then it goes out and layers and expands and goes on and on and on. So the most powerful is even a group, and we do a sea of Oms where we just continue to go and don't wait for anyone. And we make this beautiful rhythmic overlapping awesomeness.
Let's try a trio in the studio. Ready, Amnon?
Sure.
All right.
So don't wait for anyone else. When you finish, take a breath and keep going.
Viewers and listeners, can you feel the love in the room tonight or day? We welcome your engagement. How did that feel for you? We'd love for you to practice even while we're chatting, because there's an experience coming up shortly.
And one more thing, people often forget about the last part of the Om, the and that vibration, and that really is a special technique. And when you feel it, you can feel this kind of raining sensation going from the crown of the head all the way to get you grounded. So it's a really beautiful way to calm the nervous system, chill out and get super focused to tune in.
Yes, I guess it's not M period, it's M dot 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 dot
Right.
dot dot
With the bar on top.
that gently fades away. That's wonderful. Alicia, when you're partnering with another musician and you have a gong, or when you're partnering with a teacher, how do you develop that dance between what they're trying to do and what you're trying to blend in with? How does that
Yeah,
happen?
it's a good question. So far the experience is someone else will be teaching, or I teach a vinyasa class, and then have the gong experience in Shavasana, and in other forms it's the other teachers teaching, and I'm usually walking around giving hands-on enhancements, and then the gong comes in at the end. So there's something beautiful about weaving the gong throughout the class, and I'm really looking forward to being able to offer that, but have not yet. Yeah, there's something coming up soon that's a solar practice comboed with a yin practice. So there's these beautiful waves of practice and then some gonging in between, and that'll be my first experience, interweaving it through the experience.
So where and when is that?
This will be at Republic of Yoga, and it's on June 4th. And Ronan and I will be doing the class together, and I believe it's at 1:30. We actually have a gong bath at Republic tonight if you'd like to come and experience. Nicole will be teaching, I'll be doing hands-on assists, and I love that partnership because we really work well with each other to help people get grounded, and then expand. So it's really an enhancement. And then afterwards, the room is nice and sweaty, and Nicole teaches in a beautiful format where we open the chakras from the ground up, so the energy centers are open, that we're able to then play the gong, and then there's this beautiful extra flush, and that's about a 20-minute gong experience. So you guys should come check that out tonight in Cary, North Carolina, and that's at 5:45 to 7:15. We do that
Yes.
once a month there.
It is a tremendous experience because it's a intimate room, and Nicole Nichols is a wonderful teacher. She's participated in our programs and supports You Call This Yoga historically and currently. So thank you, Nicole. And tell us about your June 4th experience again with Ronan. What is his perspective?
Yeah, so Ronan specializes in yin yoga. He's a wonderful man, full of love, super gentle, really funny, and he also does he does many things. But what we're doing in this class specifically is the shift and the fluctuation between a solar practice for a few minutes, and then he'll direct us into the yin practice so that we can process. There's a lot of movement that happens in these yoga classes today, and it's often that they're kind of fast and people are keeping up, and they don't give the practitioner enough time to fully embody the pose and then even question, the svadhyaya, that self-study. How do I feel mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually? There's just this kind of rapid. So we really think that there's this profound opportunity to go through some heat, stir up that Agni, and then get grounded and process and feel what you feel. And then we'll rise back up again through a Surya practice, and then settle back into the yin. And it's a 2.5-hour experience. So you'll have a full half-hour Shavasana, and then Ronan does a non-contact hands above body energy work that will help unblock and release energy that's still blocked in the body. So it'll be my first time experiencing that coupled with the gong, and I think it's a really beautiful connection. I'm thankful that we have that happening. There's so much happening with the gong. We're doing Ashley Nunn and I are going to do a stand-up paddleboard or kayak. So I'll lead the kayak group, and she'll lead the stand-up paddleboard. That's going to be on Lake Wheeler, and we'll be in the water. So you have this intense essence of fluid and ripple, and vibration, and then afterwards we'll get on shore, get grounded, and then let the gong take us away. So there's lots in store to experience the gong in the Triangle area the next few months.
Well, let's just prepare to move to the next pearl, because after that, Alisha will be demonstrating a preliminary gong experience. and then we'll come back and talk about that. And hopefully, once you awaken, you might check in with us too. Thank you. And we look forward to hearing from Alisha after the pearl.
To continue to prepare the body to receive the vibrations of the gong, we'll take a round of Kapalabhati and Nadi Shodhana breath. Kapalabhati are short, forceful exhales through the nose, drawing the belly back towards sacrum. We'll do this about 50 pumpings, and the amount of pumpings will depend on how long you've been practicing, and you can always continue to add or reduce. And then Nadi Shodhana is taking the pointer and the middle finger and placing it on the forehead center. And we use the thumb to block right nostril as we inhale on the left side. And then once we inhale on the left side, we retain with the ring finger and exhale on the right side. And it looks like this.
Ah, how are you feeling? Quite an experience here in the studio. Hopefully you didn't have your headphones on at full volume. Well,
I'm going to have to repaint.
I would say rocking the house, baby.
I need to move that.
Ah, well, viewers and listeners, we invite you by phone 919-518-9773, Skype, computers 2K voice, chat box, log in, and share what you've experienced. Coming back to Alisha. Alisha, what flows through you as you're doing that? Because you're right there with the gong.
Mm.
You're trying to prepare for whatever's next. And here I asked you to consider playing for a defined amount of time. How do you practice that?
Mm. I think it's similar to any yoga class that you're going in. At least the yoga classes I teach and the ones that I like to go to. It's about slowing down. It's about finding a breath, many breaths, deepening the breath, quieting the mind. And of course, the mind's going to wander here and there. But ultimately, the sooner I get back to the vibration and the sooner I get back to the feelings of the sounds, my brain's quiet. And then it's this undivided, intimate experience. So, in a quickness that's happening like this, there is a little bit of a shift, but I felt connected, I felt grounded, and the vibrations are so powerful and I'm so close that they're just, whoosh, washing through me. So, I could play for a half an hour and it's possible that it seems like 5 minutes. Yeah.
Well, and that I imagine can be very cleansing in some or several forms.
Yeah, it's cleansing, and it's also, and it can be anything. It can be everything. There's times afterwards where it's really hard for me to speak because I'm fully, I need to ground a little more. And there's times where I've, kind of closed off the experience a little more profoundly, where I've come back into, the current present moment universe. Yeah. So there's a lot of different responses that people will feel.
Fascinating. Alicia is also part of our Yoga Fest Raleigh team of teachers that will be participating for each Saturday morning in June in the Raleigh area. We'll be presenting yoga at different locations. Last week we presented the Well-Fed Garden in our sponsor spot. This week we'll be sharing a little bit about Alliance Medical Ministry, also a long-term partner for our programming. Yoga Fest Raleigh is raising money for 4 programs that we host in the area at Alliance Medical Ministry for uninsured clients, at the Brentwood Boys and Girls Club for elementary and middle schoolers, the Raleigh Teen Club for high schoolers, as well as Chavis Park Recreation Center for seniors. We are a 501c3 nonprofit, and we invite you to visit our website, youcallthisyoga.org, to learn more about us, and if you'd like to participate, donate, and even recommend where we may partner. Soon we'll be moving towards our sponsor spot and sharing with you about our new location. June 3rd is our first date, as well as June 10th, 17th, and 24th. Let's learn more now from our sponsor spot. You Call This Yoga presents Yoga Fest Raleigh. Join us each Saturday in June for morning yoga classes in cool and fun locations. Vendors and activities may be on site too. Here is Alliance Medical Ministry in Southeast Raleigh, our location for June 10th. Yoga Fest Raleigh supports free yoga in Southeast Raleigh at Chavis Park, Raleigh Teen Club, Brentwood Boys and Girls Club, and the Alliance Medical Ministry. Learn more and register today at etouches.com/YFRAL2017. Improve balance with yoga. So did you know that chicken's name is the Lone Ranger? And she lives at the well-fed garden. She hops over the fence, lays her eggs in the mulch, patrols the front yard, and goes back. We nickname her Low Range, so she's our mascot for Yoga Fest Raleigh. Come learn more about Low Range when we're at the well-fed garden and their other activities, sponsored by Irregardless Cafe and Catering. Well, that's enough commercials for now. Let's come back to our sweet guest, Alisha. Alisha, you cited that you have children. Do any of them have an interest in music or Gong or yoga, or how does the family play together?
They all do. So yoga is a part of our life in general. And, of course, it kind of started out with the physical and the chanting, but it's also very much about intention. So when I first moved to Raleigh, I started offering a class called Strong Roots Yoga, and it was for new mothers to bring their babes. And it wasn't a mom and babe class. It was all for mom. It's a mom-centered class teaching women how to deal and learn and cope with what it means to be a new mom. So I had already gone through that. Layla was about 5, and Jack was a little nugget. So he actually came with me, and it's a really beautiful class, and with a wonderful intention of nurturing each other and learning how to support yourself, whether you're nursing or bottle feeding or picking baby up out of the crib, and really how to get grounded and keep yourself together when you know what gets crazy. So we would practice things like drumming on the floor and oming, and just getting people connected to something tactile, getting them back in their bodies. My kids om regularly. My son, they all sing Loka, Samasta, Sukhino Bhavantu, may all beings everywhere be happy, be free, and may our actions and our participation in this world contribute to that happiness and freedom. So we live by that mantra in our home as much as possible. Layla comes with me to quite a few yoga classes. When she comes to mine, she ends up kind of chilling out and making a mess and making noise. But if someone else is teaching, she's really fully engaged. Mia likes to bang on the gong at home. I don't bring her to any classes with me, but we'll practice at home, and we get into our breath. And the breath work is really center in our house. When chances are when our blood is starting to boil a little bit, we all kind of do this to each other, and then we have these kind of community exhales. So whether it's oming, a little bit of movement. Mia also likes to pretend like she's the teacher, which is great. So we let her guide us through some stuff.
Oh, boy. Or oh, girl.
Yeah.
That's so sweet. And do they have different size gongs for different size people?
They do. They make gongs in every size. There's, tinier gongs that are more easily transported. I think the larger the gong, the deeper the range. And I've played all the other gongs, and they just don't feel the same. So for me, this makes the most sense to have a larger setup.
Mm-hmm. And do you always play with one hammer?
So they're called mallets, and
I was close.
You were close. And when I started exploring, yeah, right. When I started exploring, I tried out a few of the other mallets. Many of the other mallets have some kind of fabric or thread that's wrapped around a wooden stick, and then the very tip of the stick is still wood. And I found myself every once in a while, touching the wood part against the gong, and it just felt unnatural, and it just I didn't find I don't know, it wasn't something I needed. So the mallet that I use today is this, and this is the mallet I use, most times. I'm interested in buying another one. I like this idea of getting two. That was the one thing I did love about the other mallets that are smaller, that I could really kind of get into this intense drumming, rhythmic thing. And I loved that, and I do miss that. But this is all I need for now. But yeah, there's several. They even make these tiny sticks that have a rubber ball on it that you can take on the back and drape it down the back, and it starts to sound like dolphins underwater. And there's a lot of other stuff. But I found that too much stuff became distracting, and I began trying. And this isn't about trying; it's just about being. And being connected and being authentic, and that's why I love the less is more concept with that.
Are there other instruments or entities that can approach what a gong might generate, such as sometimes bowls create their frequency or have their own frequencies and can manipulate it? Is there anything that can approximate that? Just for people to foster, even though it's not necessarily the authentic gong, how can they start experiencing vibrations in accessible modes?
Yeah, they're forks. They're called. Those usually are very high pitched, and I prefer the gong. I think there's nothing like the gong. It's its own. I think we've all felt the bass of music, and we've seen what happens when there's some water, and then there's that sound, and there's that rippling. So there's a very kind of approachable, accessible, real relationship that you can see and feel. I would say, find on your music source, on your streaming source, some kind of beats or even delta waves. You can look up different waves and then kind of make it loud and get yourself into Shavasana and find your breath and settle in, and then just start letting the vibrations kind of pulsate through the body. Yeah, I think that's where I would start, with being able to experience that more often.
Well, you mentioned about modifications of the mallet, and I can appreciate that materials can also foster different vibrations or sound based on their qualities. So how would you like your mallet to be, and why? What is special about this material, and what would happen if someone used leather or some thicker material versus this looks like cotton?
Yeah, I think it's worth exploring. I think that that all medium has a benefit and has a purpose and has a vibration. And I think it's fun to be creative and make a choice and see what works for you. We had the Pearl of Wisdom where we tapped into the pranayama, and that in itself is another form to access internal vibration. And aside from listening to music, you can explore different forms of pranayama, different speeds of pranayama, and then you can think of your heartbeat and your breath as those immediate vibrations that we've stimulated, or that we've also kind of fine-tuned and zeroed in on.
And how about humming? What is your thought? What are your thoughts about humming?
Yeah, I mean, it's humming, it's singing, it's buzzing, it's anything that you can create, any sound that you can create that is leaving the body and that is stimulating the cells and the organs inside of the body. So do you want to do a little humming?
That sounds like a good idea. Let's hum a little bit, and then we'll eventually hum on over to the other pearl.
Yeah.
Lead us, Hummeister.
Then you can cover your eyes. Or your ears.
Covering the nose doesn't work very well.
Right. Well, there's a certain breath practice where you can actually take the thumbs in the ears, the finger over the eyes, block the nose, so we're completely bringing all of our senses inward, and then That was out of this world.
Was it not buzzing?
I mean, you should hear what it feels like on the inside.
That's Alicia's flight of the bumblebee.
I encourage you to try it.
All right, let's do that one more time because I was just watching first. Can you go
Right.
through the steps
Sure.
again?
So thumbs and ears, and really get them in there, but wait until I'm fully finished speaking about where the other fingers go. And then the pointer on the eyes, and then the middle finger blocking the nose, the nostrils, and then the ring finger on the mouth, or underneath the nose, sorry, and then the pinky on the mouth, and then you just start, bzz, but press kind of firmly and plug your ears fully.
It sounded from deep below the sea.
Yeah, so that's the vibration, and it's really tuning everything out from the periphery and getting super deep into your core and your center, and it's a beautiful way to focus and get connected.
Make sure you take your hearing aids and jewelry out before trying this
Great
at
advice.
home.
Yeah.
Well, let's prepare for our demonstration by this third pearl from Alisha, and then we'll dozy-do on our chairs over here, and hopefully you'll be ready to experience an even fuller Gong bath.
To continue to experience a fuller Gong bath, I invite you to come to a comfortable seated position, either on the floor, in your chair, or lying down in Shavasana, corpse pose. And once you arrive, close your eyes. And exhale through your mouth. Let every exhale be an opportunity to settle the physical body. Let every inhale be an invitation to lengthen vertically and expand horizontally. Feel free to tap into that ujjayi pranayama, that victorious over the mind, long, slow, deep, slight constricting of the muscles in the back of the throat. Once the physical body and the breath body have become slow and settled and support each other, then you can move a little deeper, focusing the mind. Choose a mantra of your choice. I recommend So Hum, I am, that, and it becomes the circular mantra, I am that I am, where we shift our focus from the periphery moving in toward the core, towards our center, and we begin to settle down even more. And once we feel that our mind, our breath, and our body are connected, then we begin to soften even more and then shift towards the sound of the gong.
Well, that was a journey. It's a very interesting experience being just a few feet away from that gong and also just having the opportunity to sense Alicia's process too and noticing her flow and breathing and mine too and the hum of the air conditioner behind us. That was a whole nother vibration. Speaking of other vibrations, I'll be going to New York this weekend to participate in the Accessible Yoga Conference. There are practitioners of accessible yoga, some of who have been on our show already, Jivana Hyman and Diane Bondi, and others who we hope to have after meeting them further. We're meeting in Manhattan at the Integral Yoga Center, where we'll be sharing practices of accessible yoga. I'll be learning all about varieties of practices that we've shared on the show from other experts and participating in a community yoga panel. So we hope that if you have any interest, you can check out accessibleyoga.org to see if there's space and whether there's also streaming from Manhattan and also their conference later in the year in Santa Barbara. But we're going to travel back to the vibrations here in the room now that Alicia's had a chance to settle back in her seat. Alisha, how are you feeling?
Groovy. I think it's just happy. I think I think it truly is positive vibration. I think it just resonates and it feels so good. I feel so alive. I feel connected. I'm kind of buzzy. Do you feel that?
Oh, God, I have like happy face. Yes. It was this, I had a vertical Shavasana since I was actually recording Alisha playing off to the side of the camera. So it was a very physical experience for me too, just to be doing that while you were playing. Viewers and listeners, do we have anyone with any thoughts, comments, and feedback? Amnon has raised a finger.
I can just say one thing. I don't think that the audience who's watching and is going to watch it, the recording, is going to be able to experience what it really is. And the reason is, as Alisha was playing and it was getting louder, I had to actually turn it down because it was overdriving. So you are not going to get, on the recording, you're not going to get that experience that we had here. And so you really need to go out there and listen to somebody doing it live because it's unbelievable.
Agreed.
True. Well, there is a little bit more that we can offer in that since I was recording this, it'll be on the You Call This Yoga Facebook page. So do tune into that at whatever frequency you're able to check that out, as well as the archives that we have on NissanCommunications.com here. Alisha, any further thoughts and vibrations that you'd like to share with our viewers and listeners? Programs and other mindsets.
Thanks. Yeah, check out my website, AlishaNissenfeldYoga.com. And come and join the community. I feel like my intention here has been to meet as many wonderful, kind-hearted, loving, grounded, earthy people and explore what the triangle has to offer. And we do it through yoga, we do it through mindful eating, we do it through connections of our family. And I'm playing the gong all over the place. I do studios, I co-teach, I also teach a vinyasa class and play the gong. And like I said, at least 4 times a month, you'll be able to find me playing the gong somewhere. Or privates or small groups, parties.
We're so fortunate to have Alisha in our community and part of the You Call This team of affiliate teachers.
Thank you, Howie.
Oh, it's a joy. You bring love everywhere. Coming up next week, we have Rose Kress, who is part of Life Force Yoga teacher team. She's the lead teacher from Amy Weintraub's organization. Rose will be joining us from the Southwest, so please consider checking in, yoga for depression and other mood improvements. We have Yoga Fest Raleigh coming up in June. We are looking forward to having you at 4 different locations: Alliance Medical Ministry, Neomon Deli and Catering, the Well-Fed Garden, and one mystery one that you'll just have to stay posted on the You Call This Yoga Facebook page. Look forward to seeing you soon. Let's finish with one more Om from the trio in the studio and you in the world. Let's take a nice inhale. Thank you for tuning in. Namaste, Alisha, Nissan, and you all.
Namaste.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section on nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Atomos.com, makers of quality video recorders and converters, CarolinaApparel.com, and DeltaForce.net.